Welcome back to another brand new episode of Kaiju Customs, everyone. Today we are going to repaint the Ultraman G'd DX Zegen figure. This Kaiju's design is one that I very much enjoy, even if his actual episodes and appearances in the show were rather underwhelming to say the least. So I decided to repaint him, especially because I'd like to use him in a future project. Now on to the customization of Zegen. Starting off, I unplugged all of Zegen's joints so that there would be less unnecessary paint slop later on. Then I began to mix the paint that would be used to recoat all of the crustacean-like parts of Zegen. Using a mixture of scarlet red, gray, and a pearlescent white color, I created a mixture that was nearly identical to the original figure, but a few shades darker to look a bit more how the actual suit of Zegen appears in the show. All of the pre-painted red areas were recoated, and any parts that did not have any of the red paint on the base figure had 2 coats applied to them to ensure an even look for all of these areas on Zegen's chest, arms, and legs. Once that was completed, I began to paint the unpainted gray areas on Zegen. I mixed a slightly glossy gray mixture together and painted it on the various areas on Zegen's chest, tail, arms, neck, and back that were originally completely unpainted on the original figure. These areas required a few coats to ensure an even spread of paint that left little to none of the original blue vinyl on the figure from showing. After that, I took a thin, white, pearlescent paint and applied a subtle layer of white to the various spikes and sharp claws on Zegen's arms and legs. Some of them wound up coming out a little too thick in the paint department, so I had to dry brush a few of them over again with that same red base of the crustacean areas of Zegen. Then, I took some various shades of blue and created more texture and variety in shades of color on Zegen's body. This ranged from completely redoing his legs to making the wings look a little bit darker, and the shoulders and head were also made to look a bit darker and desaturated, with many more shades of blue throughout the edges of his body. This just helped to add a lot more visual variety to the figure and make it look a lot more interesting to look at, as opposed to the original figure, which is one simple shade of blue, save for the wings, which are a bit darker. And finally, I took a very slight shade of yellow-green and mixed it with the same pearlescent white paint that I had been using to repaint the very tips of Zegen's crests on his head. This required numerous coats as the paint was very thin, but eventually the outcome looked pretty nice with a variety of shades showing up on the tips of his horns. And that finished off Zegen. Now let's quickly compare the original figure to what my final customization looks like. Now as you take a closer look at the final product, I'll share my thoughts on the custom with you guys. Overall, I'm surprisingly satisfied with how Zegen turned out. I really like Zegen's design, so I felt a bit more obligated, I suppose, to try and do it justice with this custom, and I feel like I generally succeeded. There are a few areas that I will most likely touch up in the future once I'm getting the figure ready to be used in a video that, are a bit sloppy, such as some slight red slop on Zegen's chest and lower legs. But other than that, I really like how the figure came out. Anyway, next time on Kaiju Customs, we will most likely be tackling the upcoming Belial fusion beast, King Galactron. I'll see you guys next time for whatever it is that I have to offer.